Ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll. Dan, maybe it was just that I can smell you salesman a mile away. And so
Listen.
So then I thought, hey man, like this ideal ultimate life for me could be if I'm a farmer, but maybe I write for the Western Producer one day. So then when Mike Rain reached out to me one day and was like, hey, I want to talk to you. Like, do you want to write a column? I was like, oh my God.
Are you questioning country songs?
Yes, all the time. There's some terrible lyrics out there.
Dukes of Hazzard, Luke or Bo?
Can't say I've seen it.
Oh, see? I'm going to write a book about things millennials don't get.
Since I could walk, I was the show-off kid who couldn't get enough attention, who would, I would tell my family silly things because I thought they'd think it's funny. And I'd be like, haha, everybody's looking at me and laughing. This is the best day ever, right?
Are you going to marry a rich farmer and amalgamate? Is that a thing or?
Yeah, tomorrow, actually.
Okay, guys, if you're watching this podcast, our viewership just went up. Katelyn's going to marry a rich farmer. It all depends on your land and your gross margin.
I don't think that most people know who they are or what they're doing or why. And so my main goal and my priority right now is to seek out both of those things. And I think that will lead me to perhaps breaking the mold or being beyond the mold. How's that sound?
I see a future for you in politics.
Okay, well, I kind of get frustrated by politics. So I don't think you do.
Me and my sister tried to save a homeless person in Saskatoon once, but it was actually...
How did that go for you?
Pretty bad. It sort of illuminated the nature of the challenge on a very visceral level. On that note, what is the one thing that nobody really knows about you that you want to share?
And it's that I play the accordion.
Experiential learning?
Yeah, like learning through experiences.
Huh.
Yeah,
I think that's happened to me.
Yeah. I hope so.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
The Growing the Future podcast is brought to you by Eberhard Ag Solutions. Join us as we talk to top entrepreneurs in the agricultural space about their methods of obtaining success in their endeavors. And now, your host, Dan Eberhard.
Ready to rock and roll?
Ready to rock and roll.
I feel like there's been a lot of anticipation for me personally, anyways, in regards to having you on the podcast, because we've been planning this for a while, and it's not like we're off schedule, but it's been a massive challenge to get you off the sprayer and into downtown Saskatoon on the 5th floor here where we are today on a beautiful day.
Yeah. Spraying kind of takes precedence. It's kind of number one. So
number one in your life. So basically everything else becomes, secondary to spraying when the weeds got to go, when the diseases got to go. That's your mission.
Yeah. Other than every summer I book select days off. And so I took July long off, and then I'm doing some Sask canola events in the summer. So when I do those, it's okay, day off. My sister does the spraying those days. And then otherwise it's make myself available all the time. So
when it's not spraying season, you're readily available.
Yes.
So anybody that watches this podcast and really loves this particular podcast episode with Katelyn Duncan really has Canola Palooza to thank.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a beautiful day at Canola Palooza. Got to talk to some growers, talk to some researchers, and it's pretty cool. I like the scientific and the research side of agriculture too. So I talked to a researcher from Ag Canada who's been working on clubroot for 11 years. Had a really good conversation with her and some of the people involved kind of behind the scenes in agriculture.
You were at a particular station. You were talking about rotations, I believe, eh?
Crop rotation. Yeah.
You know, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I feel like you're pretty young to be talking about rotations. Is that bad to say?
No, it's honest. It's never wrong to be honest.
I'm like, it's fascinating to me that she's talking about rotations, because that's that takes some observation. But what was your conclusions, or what were you sharing with people about rotations at Canolapalooza today?
Essentially, we were just talking about with like different crops, some of the challenges to growing them and some of the benefits. So for like, I guess there was, for example, the last one I was talking to was a guy from Northern Quinoa. And so he was talking about the benefits of having quinoa in your rotation, and then like some of the challenges, and that's that there's very few weed control options. So it's a very, there's my phone. Very heavy.
You owe me for that one.
Very heavy management practices, but it's similar to growing lentils too, right? Like with lentils, you have to have a fairly aggressive weed control program, and, you know, take care of your dirt and make sure that you've got, you're not having tight rotation so that you're not getting root rot and things like that. So it's a management decision. So we kind of talked about the management side of rotations and why and all of that. So
are you on this slippery slope to regenerative ag, Katelyn?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm definitely open-minded, I think. You know, like I think there's a lot of different pros and cons and approaches that you can get from organic agriculture, from regenerative agriculture, from conventional agriculture. I oddly enough, this may be surprising, but I don't really want to just stay in the concrete. I want to kind of see what other approaches are out there that you can kind of adopt from different types of agriculture.
Are you feeling like there's some middle ground where we could merge the best elements into something potentially new? I know that you were writing about sustainability in the Western producer and reaching the consumers. Is that what it's going to look like, or we just keep flogging organic that people want to pay 3x for?
I don't know if you read my article or not, but I would like to see a lot more organized and strategic approach to sustainability. I hate the word with a passion, but I know it's an incredibly powerful word. And so I don't like to use it because I'm still not sure what it means. You know,
this is a podcast about sustainability.
I know, but I know that sustainability is thrown around so much. And unless a strategic approach is taken to verify, measure, and ensure compliance, I struggle with the word.
Are you in the same camp as Cam Dahl?
I have some similar views as Cam Dahl, yes. Okay. I'm in my own camp, Dad.
Okay. What's this camp called, and how do you get to it, and what's all involved?
I don't know what it's called. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay, we're going to produce a sequel in 2020.
Okay.
It's called Katelyn's Camp.
Okay, awesome.
Comes up with
I'll
it.
be there.
But rotations are a big deal, no? Are you, you have to, is John kind of a wheat and canola guy, and you guys have to teach him to grow the painful crops?
No. We've always been really good with rotation. We're kind of on a strict 3 to 4 year rotation. And that's simply because we can possibly have disease issues in all 3 of our main crops. So we kind of, as a sustainability measure.
Oh my God. I'm glad that you said that, because this is a podcast about sustainability.
I know. But you know what? I want to see a hardline policy approach taken to sustainability. And I think we're getting there. And perhaps Biosul and, other sustainable sources are part of that. Yes. But I like to see verification standards before those are used.
You're definitely speaking my language. Did you know at Ag Meetup 19 that Jeff Bennett's going to have a drinking game, and it's going to consist of taking a shot every time I say the word sustainability during my paid talk?
You know who's not going to be listening to this podcast is Jeff Bennett.
Yeah, he's kind of a podcast snob that way. I think he's only on them.
It's because I told him that I listened to his podcast with you the first 10 minutes and got bored and turned it off.
Really?
So now he's like, well, I'm not listening to your podcast.
So I have to we have to shorten this podcast to 9.5 minutes. So thanks for coming, Katelyn. I really appreciate you coming downtown Saskatoon today.
Until next time.
This is probably the length I should have it if we were to produce like a weekly podcast. But you're right. That's something I never thought about, Jeff. I don't know. Is it that he's a taker? No, I feel like he's a giver, but just not in that kind of way. With
it's just Jeff. Jeff just sucks. I'm just
Jeff
kidding.
is, it's really interesting with Jeff because I got to know him a little bit through doing this podcast. But he's a really interesting influencer, and I love how candid he is and his honest opinion.
Jeff's a bro. I like that dude. He's a bro. Yeah.
Did you hear about the awkward moment when I was sitting at some trade show? I can't remember. I think it was crop production.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard about this, but go on.
And I feel like there was a moment there where this is how bad my mind is and how poorly details are retained for various reasons. Because it's got to make room for lots of important stuff. But I think I called you Mary Jane, or I called Mary Jane you. I can't remember.
Yeah, I heard you went up to Mary Jane, who you actually met before me, and we're like, Katelyn, nice to see you. Hug. And she was like, thanks, awkward. But I'm Mary Jane. And then Jeff was there watching.
Yeah. Trade show name tag. Yeah. Listen, I get some kind of weird, you know what word I'm going to use? Smoky mirror. I get some kind of smoky mirror when I'm at the trade show. Do you know what I'm referring to? There's going to be a lot of hidden Easter eggs in this podcast. It's all related to 4 agreements.
Yes.
The smoky mirror. The smoky mirror.
The smoky mirror. Are you talking about black magic?
No, I'm talking about the smoky mirror that exists between all of us and our perceptions of each other in the world.
Oh, I forgot about that little phrase there. I'll go study up and report back.
You got to get to work on your screenshots, girl. We gotta tell the viewers a funny thing that happened the other day, because I'm like, I seen a screenshot from the 4 agreements. I'm like, what book is this from? She says the 4 agreements, and I'm like, what's going on with that? Are you rereading that? How many times I got to read this to absorb this ancient information? And you're like, I didn't reread it. I just screenshot it. You just gotta Rolodex of screenshots.
Here's what happens when I'm having a moment. I go and I search Don Miguel Ruiz on Instagram, and I read his beautiful quotes of things that people have circled. Because basically it's like the Coles notes of the book all over again, all of the best lines, all of the best ideas. And then I go and share them because to me, they're so powerful that perhaps they may be to other people. And then there's people who are like, yeah, this is amazing. And there's people who are like, I hate this 4 agreements crap you always talk about. So.
You always talk about it publicly to people in your network?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Like some are tired of it and some are like thirsting for it.
I'm sure there's going to be a segment that want to hear about it again on the podcast on YouTube in the privacy of their homes or their cars or at work.
Okay. So do you want me to tell you about the 4 agreements?
This is like the awkward silence number 1.
Oh, okay.
We had one earlier, but it wasn't public. So we talked about crop rotations for the first 10 minutes. Now we're going to shift gears into the 4 agreements, which
for the next
Duncan,
hour,
our latest podcast guest, is obsessed with, having read it and enacted it in her life. Katelyn, what's so special to you about the 4 agreements that you need to tell your friends about this incessantly all the time?
You know what? I think it's about the timing.
Okay,
of the 4 agreements.
I can tell this is you've been waiting.
So my one sister, Stacy's like this super smart. I like to call her a wizard, her and her partner, because she's really smart. She knows people. She has all these books, and she's incredibly influential. And so she has recommended this book forever. And I was like, no, like, I mean, they've got 10 other books to read. No, thanks, whatever. And then it all started a couple years ago when my sister's partner was riding with me in the combine. And I had a really bad day at work, and I was just complaining about people and the way they made decisions and the way that they just, didn't even understand or know about their own bias. And they were so unaware of, who they are and what's going on. And he's like, oh, your FI is coming out. And I was like, FI, what? Like, so all the personality stuff is like introverted feeling. And so it's kind of like, some people just think this way naturally, but like essentially now you're a lot more introspective in your thoughts, and you think about your values and your morals and, your beliefs and question and challenge things, which is incredibly exhausting. but really, really challenging and a great growing opportunity.
You say it's exhausting. Why is it exhausting for you?
Well, because sometimes it's exhausting to be in your head all the time. I mean, I think most people in this world think they know who they are, but I think, in my opinion, nobody knows who they are. And it takes a lot of time and effort to pull back those layers and totally figure that out. And the 4 agreements, I mean, yeah, I get eye rolls from a lot of people, but I also weirdly have these other moments coming to my life where, you know, I'll have people, farm friends, young guys my age who are farmers, and they'll text me and they'll say, hey, like, do you ever wonder what your purpose in life is? And they're like searching for some form of like personal freedom. Or, you know, I had just last week, I had one of my farm friends open up to me and say, hey, you know, like, I've been struggling. This isn't my year. I'm living off narcotics and Red Bull in the sprayer. I almost passed out. I'm having health issues. I'm pretty much broken. And so for me, I'm like, naturally, okay, this is your first step, is read the 4 agreements, learn about yourself. Because I mean, the reality is that it's so easy to blame other people for this and that and the other thing. But with the 4 agreements, something so simple as don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions. I mean, that could solve world wars. That could solve divorces. That could solve every conflict in this world. So it's a very powerful concept and simple, but it's difficult to do because there's all these other factors, environmental, external things that kind of affect how we react to things and to people.
Can it help with Iran?
I bet if they followed the 4 agreements, there would be no war in this world. There would be world peace.
I feel like there's a mission in here for you. Can we do a podcast when you're in Iran talking about the 4 agreements?
Yes.
To a stadium full of people that need your message?
Yeah, but it is really powerful if people want to hear it. If you're not into it, it's like, okay, no, I get it. I don't want to hear what everybody has to say all the time. But if you're searching for that like deeper personal freedom and understanding, it's like, it has a lot of value.
So what is the end outcome then of this 4 agreements? What is the net end experience for you?
Well, okay. The book calls it personal freedom, which seems super cliche, but like, I kind of get it. I kind of identify with that because I think it's like the freedom to be who you are and to, you know, love who you want and to do what you want. And you know, and it takes a lot of effort. Like I said, I think we all think we know who we are, but I think everything in our life comes down to self. So there's Katelyn the farmer, there's Katelyn the individual, there's Katelyn the I don't know, all these different buckets,
sister,
right?
Farmer, sprayer.
Sister.
I was going to
friend,
ask you this question.
Sprayer, all of that.
Yeah, there's all these things you identify with,
right? But if you don't figure yourself out, you're not a good farmer, or you can't be as good of a farmer. You can't be as good as of a sister, of a friend, of a daughter. But
I wanted to ask you, who do you identify as most? You know, a sprayer operator, a primary producer, a writer. You're women in ag. You know, how do you? But I didn't think you'd respond well. I can see your facial expressions are exactly what I anticipated. You're like,
I don't even know how to answer that. But like none of those things to me, like those are all forms of external validation. Who
is Katelyn Duncan, like in the relative to like what we've been talking about here?
Katelyn Duncan is somebody who always has a lot of different things going on.
Okay.
But like a lot of interests in different areas. So like, if I think about farming, like I love farming. I love being a farmer. I love working with my family most days.
We're going to go there.
But there's all these other forms of like, satisfaction, such as writing or being involved on different boards or, being involved in ag policy. There's all these other things that are very satisfying and stimulating as well. So, I'm just somebody who likes to have different interests and utilize different skills, I guess, and contribute, I guess, if I can.
You're giving value.
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, like, I don't know, value is different to everybody. So for me, it's really, I get a lot of value out of my articles, and whether other people do or not, it's definitely up for debate. But for me, it's like, it's a whole process. It's a process of coming up with an idea for an article, coming up with a topic. And then I think about it a little bit. I procrastinate for a little bit, causes me a little bit of anxiety. And then I sit down and I write it. And then I hate it at first. And then I look at it again and I make a few changes and I love it. And then I edit it a bit, and I usually send it to a friend or two. And then when I submit it, it's like, it's a rush. And then, a week later, the paper comes out and I, look at my article and my face on my kitchen table for a while.
Right.
My mom asks me for the paper every article because she keeps them and makes a little archive. But for me, it's about the process and then the exchange of ideas. So if I think about the sustainability article that I wrote, I got a lot of good dialogue out of that and a little bit of pushback for people who were saying, I disagree with your stance. I don't think we need a verification system. And that's okay, because I don't take that personally. I'm excited that somebody wants to engage in the dialogue. They have a different point of view. I learned something. Hopefully they learn something. To me, it's about the dialogue. And, if people share your content or your articles, that's great. That's exciting. But I think what's most satisfying is the exchange of ideas. And I think ideally learning something. And to me, it's just, writing again is it's a process for me, and it's a great way to express my, I guess, artistic side as well. And kind of, utilize a different skill set, I guess.
Oh, I love that you're sharing that. That's super cool. I'm always interested in the process. Yeah. I was going to ask you, what do you prefer? Do you like writing better? Or you like networking better?
I like writing. Networking is exhausting for me more every day, oddly enough. And
what?
Yeah. So if I think about writing too, if I should have mentioned this, but like back when I was in grade 11, or grade 12, I had a really influential English teacher, and I loved writing in her class, and she would provide me great feedback. She would say, this was awesome. You hit the nail on the head here, or you really missed the mark here. Like, this is terrible. And so she was really influential. And in grade 12, I was like, hey, I really want to be a journalist. I love writing. I like current events. I like politics. So then I was going to go to journalism school. And then I thought, actually, I kind of really want to be a farmer. So then I thought, hey man, like this ideal ultimate life for me could be if I'm a farmer, but maybe I write for the Western Producer one day. So then when Mike Rain reached out to me one day and was like, hey, I want to talk to you. Like, do you want to write a column? I was like, oh my God.
That's how it happened.
I ran into him at I think it was a carbon summit here in Saskatoon a couple of years ago. And when he asked me that, I was just like, oh my God, I was so excited because it's exactly what I had kind of envisioned. And then, it kind of just happened. And he's like, you can write about whatever you want. And I was like, but like, what do you want me to write about? Like, I need some rules. I need some guidelines. I need some, tell me what I can and can't do. He's like, no, just write about what you want. I was like, okay. So
that reminds me of our conversation of you speaking at Farm Forum. And the interesting thing was was your reaction that you're like, well, maybe I will. Like, okay, this is sort of a yes. And of course I was using my salesman techniques to like slowly warm you up to the idea. Right.
Yeah. Which I guess worked. So yeah.
I felt like you didn't know yet about that space. You hadn't maybe considered as much as you will come to, I think, because I think you've got a really cool brand, and I think you're going to grow it on a bunch of different platforms is my prediction. And it's,
maybe it was just that I can smell you salesmen a mile away. And so
listen,
that's why I was like, I don't know.
You can smell us, but you have no natural defenses against our onslaught of salesmanness. No, it's not that insidious, trust me. But by the way, what are you going to talk about at Farm Forum?
I don't know. Haven't decided yet.
We were talking about you doing a forum though.
I'm going to go home and read the 4 agreements a few more times and then I'll decide.
That sounds great. I'm sure the audience can't wait to hear about the next time that you've read it.
Dan, you've got that one guy out there who's like, this is what I've been looking for. Okay.
All I need is one guy that likes the podcast and it'll have attained all of my financial goals.
100%. Yeah.
As long as it's Donald Trump.
Yeah. Get him on here.
I could. No, I'm curious about your brand too.
Brand.
And how and see, you're puzzled by that, but what you're doing, I mean, from a marketing point of view, and we're all selling. What I love is when people don't admit that they're salespeople. Because if you couldn't sell somebody on a job, if you couldn't sell somebody on loving you, if you couldn't sell somebody that you should have a driver's license, I mean, it's a series of sales. I'm going to write I'm going to write a book about the 4 sales agreement. I hope you read it. Would you?
Oh, I would read it. Yeah.
How do you see your brand? Because you're branding yourself on social media, obviously. And I don't know how Mike Rain knew you before, but that might have been part of why he reached out to you. And we've had conversations about working together too, because I thought you were building a great brand previously. You're writing, and you got that perspective of a woman in ag, but I heard you on the radio and you hesitated when they were asking you about women in ag.
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle with the topic. I don't know.
Or we could just pretend we talked about it and then
it's, my sister and I talk a lot about it in person, about how we hate the topic.
It's kind of like sustainability.
Well, I mean, we're 2 sisters who farm together. So we are 2 women in ag.
Okay. So you've admitted it then.
Yes.
Okay. Step 1.
I think that you're giving me some steps right now. Hey, we don't often get to some of the real difficult conversations around women in ag. And there's women throughout the industry, working in different capacities, often as farm wives as well, and in supporting roles. And I think the issue is how we value those. And, I always say, like, often women or a wife will do the books on the farm, but I mean that you can't run a business without the books being balanced. So I think it's just in how we value some of these roles. And, I'd like to see a lot more women as primary producers. And I think that it is up to, your environment and your industry to kind of support that as well. And part of that is having expectations, because I think that as young girls, my sisters and I were treated like boys and expected to, my sister did most of the seeding when she was in high school or just after high school. And we were expected to show leadership and take initiative and work hard. And, if we screwed up, we heard about it. So it wasn't like we were treated like nobody expected much of us. And so because, when somebody expects something of you, I think you perform better and you take more initiative. So I think that kind of set things up for us. Right. And when we were younger, like I always knew I wanted to farm. Like when I was 11, I said, hey, I want to farm. And my dad and uncle were like, that's awesome. Great. You will do really well. But the path to the farm was a little different than what I had in mind. And that's part of the personal growth journey, I think.
Is that unorthodox in your opinion to be raised in that environment for #women in ag in general?
Where you had opportunity to farm when you were young?
Where you said you wanted to farm and everybody around you said, absolutely, you have every opportunity to farm. Let's do this.
I think it is. I think that a lot of women don't know it's an option. And I think that a lot of people think about it perhaps with less favor than if you're a man or you're a son. The son is the farmer. The daughter is, she can work in ag. She can be an agronomist. But, I even think my mom comes to the farm often and rides in equipment. And the other day she saw my sister and I fixing the boom on the sprayer. And she said, I'm really worried about you girls. They're working so hard. And I was like, this was not a busy day. This was not a stressful day. We literally moved the boom, put the cable back on, and we're good. But I was like, Mom, I think that you're saying this because were your daughters. And this is not what you envision for women. And you're not even aware of it. And she was like, no, I don't think so. And whatever. But it's just one of those things, right? It's not as common, I guess.
The only thing we'd ever worry about with boys is that they don't work enough.
Yeah. And that's
so it's a double standard.
It is totally double standard. On the part
of your mother who was, raised in a certain generation, a certain way.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is, to me, the good part of Women in Ag. And I think it has a place to let women know that there can be equal opportunity, to support the women in their endeavors to be involved, and I don't know that there's anything wrong with it, in the sense that any sort of focus group that gets people into agriculture, like, to me, there's a vast opportunity with immigrants in agriculture. We need,
absolutely.
There was an awesome article the other day, I think it was in the Grain News, about a farmer. I know him a little bit. He's from Carmen. I forget what his last name is. I think it's Phrase. But he had a couple guys working at the local store there. I don't know. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. They're from India, and they started working on his farm because they had a background in agriculture. Yeah. So I think, whatever group it is, and if it's a minority and they may not have, even footing or the same platform or relative opportunity to who we think would be the archetypal farmer. Yeah. Being the oldest son. Yeah. I'm the oldest son, but I got kicked off the farm, right? But I have a podcast. I don't own land. So
that's what's happening.
I have to build equity in a podcast because I don't own land. But, and yet there's a little bit of calibration or hesitancy to make sure that we're getting the messaging right. And I think, and we don't want to make it something that turns people off with good endeavors, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about diversity. And it's such a cliche word, and it's not rocket science. Like if you're Dan from Southeast Saskatchewan and I'm Katie from Regina area, hey, we're a little different. We might have a different opinion. It's not rocket science. But I think our overall appetite for diversity gets stretched a little bit, or, we're a little bit uncomfortable around people who don't think and look just like us.
I feel like your level of acceptance towards me, given that I live in Brandon, is actually lower than I would like to see in a liberal society.
I said Southeast Saskatchewan, Brandon, close enough.
You're like horrified. You're like, what? Where are you habitating? I'm the only small town Saskatchewan farm boy that ever went east, and nobody knows what the hell happened to me when I show up at the cabaret.
You're really wearing that, hey?
I wear that. I own that, amongst other things. But when are you going to totally take over the farm and rule it with an iron fist then? Give me the timeline.
So I feel like that's a loaded question.
I feel like that's an evil laugh.
With every farm in transition, it's like, so we're working on within, I think, the next year, by next January, my dad is wanting to kind of step back from the primary role, I guess. But we'll still continue to be involved in, obviously, it is somewhat of a decision-making role, and also, some of the day-to-day. My dad does a lot less than he used to, I guess, in terms of like overall equipment operation and decisions and things like that. So my sister and I are really working on our partnership. And our relationship has evolved and improved over the years. We've had conflict. We've had, sister issues and relationship issues.
Issues.
Yeah. But we've put a lot of work into it, I think. And we have our weekly meetings and we have our monthly strategy meetings.
That's cool.
And so I think what we're trying to get to is dealing with some of our short-term fires or conflicts or differences, so that long-term we can kind of find our ideal working state. So we're different. We have different personality, different way of approaching situations and people, and different risk tolerance. But I think farming is all about relationships and people. And I think that when you can really work on those aspects, that's when you can have a successful family farm. But it takes a little bit of discomfort in the short term. And so, we also have a really good dialogue about stress and mental health. And that's an area where I think women specifically are a little bit less hesitant to say, I am not myself today, or I'm hurting today, or I'm a little bit off. Just bear with me today. Bear with me this week. There's not as much stigma. So on the farm, we have a really great dialogue. She'll say, I'm tired and I need just some time off, or I'll say, I'm not myself today. I'm having a couple days. And so we've really developed, I think, a deep honesty, which is incredibly beneficial.
You think that's easier for the fairer of the species?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Because me and my brother talk about mental health all the time.
Do you really?
Well, anyways.
Do you really?
I think
Go
so.
on.
I think so.
Enlighten me.
We're the oversharing CEOs. That's all I'll say.
Oh, that's
everybody
excellent.
around us. When I first met your sister, which was an awesome experience, by the way, I met John and your sister, and I had a really warm introduction with Ryan Goodwin. They're agronomists, so it was really awesome sitting at the kitchen table. And there's something about being in the presence of your people, like people that you kind of share values with, and they're good people. And it was a great conversation. But at the time, your sister was taking a marketing class, and I love that. So I guess I'm kind of curious. Yeah, it was probably like 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
I was kind of curious where you guys fit in with your unique abilities, and how do you split up the tasks, and what do you do that you're really good at on the farm relative to your sister and your dad?
So currently how we do it is my sister does the books on the farm. She does some of the grain marketing as well. She's very financially savvy. And then I do most of the spraying, and her and our hired guy do the seeding. And then we're all kind of hands on deck at harvest. So we're at a point kind of where we're truly understanding each other more, I think. And, even negotiating with pushy salesmen.
Oh my God.
How do we approach it?
Defenses against those salesmen. Tell me about that.
Teach me your secrets after, so I can use these transferable skills, please.
I don't think I should give those away for free.
But I mean, really, everybody has a different approach to dealing with people, right? I'm fairly direct. So I'll generally just say what I want or what I need or what our bottom line is.
Up on that so far.
Okay, well then you're not a very good salesman then, are you?
I've got no empathy whatsoever. I can't read people worth a crap.
Yeah, fair enough. But my sister is just, she's got a heart of gold. I mean, she's the most likable. She is. She
looks a lot like you too at a trade show. It's kind of.
This is what I hear. But she is honestly the most likable person you'll ever meet, which is amazing and makes her incredibly awesome to work with, until you're kind of like, you just need to say this. And, we just need to kind of do this. So, it's finding balance, right? My way is not always the correct way. Her way isn't always the correct way. And it's kind of working through the ebbs and flows to figure out, I guess, how to move forward.
Are you guys have it well established who would be physically dominant in a fight?
Well, actually our third sister, Stacy, would definitely take that prize. So
really?
Yeah. So yeah, we don't even talk about it because Stacy would just trump it all.
I feel like there was a time when I was physically dominant over Terry, but that time has passed, but he would still let me win, knowing how it would crush my ego. Does that make sense?
What ego?
Oh man. Do you have anybody helping you with the farm transition, or is it just going to be shoot out the lights and hope for the best?
No, we work with a financial kind of consultant on that side of things.
Cool.
We've worked a little bit with Elaine Fraze with some of the interpersonal stuff. Yeah. And then our last meeting, some concerns kind of came up on the day-to-day and the operational and our financial guy was kind of like, I have somebody else can help you with all of that. So I guess we're going to have a third person on the way to help us with our.
Well, so I think you probably need that. I know we need a lot of facilitators. Basically, we've hired people to come and put us in those big sumo wrestler suits, that Jeff Bennett's going to have out at Ag Meetup, so we can kind of get our aggressions,
Yeah.
I used to just beat up Terry on the bus. It was a lot simpler.
Whose side of the story is that one?
No, I really did. But Grandpa Wilson warned me that one day Terry would be bigger than me potentially physically, and it happened. But
yeah,
he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Like,
yeah. Oh, your sibling too?
yeah, like
What is that about them?
Terry's never been in a fight. I've been in one fight and I lost, but I lost in a fit of rage, if that counts.
Yeah,
I was mad about losing, but that's good that you got somebody helping you and coaching you. What's your opinion on coaching? Getting coached to your ultimate potential. Do you have different coaches in different parts of your life?
Formally, no, but do I think it's a good idea? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Mentors? Anything you can share with the audience?
You know what? Honestly, I don't have any formal mentors, but in the last year, for the first time in my life, I've been like, I really want a mentor. Like I got a lot of really, really, really good friends, a lot of good people in my life, a lot of people who I talk to every single day and bounce ideas off of them. And sometimes they tell me I'm exhausting. And then I say, so are you? And then we hug it out. But I honestly use like friends in my network for a lot of that type of stuff, I think.
So what would a mentor look like for you?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody who can help with like really tough and challenging situations in your life. Somebody who can kind of give you like an outside perspective and, not just tell you what you want to hear, but, check you sometimes and keep you in line. And I think that like friends are great for that. My sisters are great for that. So those are informal situations, but I like to look at life as like, you have a board of directors. So I've got a board of directors in my life.
Do you have a board of directors right now?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What does that look like?
It's people who are of a diverse background and different perspective, both men and both women. Some farmers, some non-farmers.
Sounds like a Trudeau campaign.
Thank you for
because it's 2019, bitches.
Okay, you know what? I'm not going to tell you about my board of directors anymore then.
So listen, we've been kind of dragging this out. We've been building the suspense. I feel like this is like a binge-worthy Netflix series, but it's not. It's a podcast. Let's get to the 4 agreements. Let's break it down, bring it down.
I want to go back to the 4 agreements.
Well, we got to tell people what it is at some point. It's kind of the fulcrum of this whole show
right now. Let me break it down. Or you want to break it down?
Okay. I feel like are you going to 2 turntables and a microphone?
No. So the first agreement is to... Oh man, no, you're
okay. Start over. You're doing great. I love how you went into that. I was like, you were just.
The first agreement is to be impeccable with your words, meaning don't spread. It calls it in the book black magic, but like don't spread gossip about people. Don't accept gossip about people in your life because it just leads to unnecessary toxic situations. So just learn to filter what's coming in to your environment and filter what's coming out of your mouth. And the second one is to don't take anything personally, which is really simple. Everything that you do, everything that anybody else does is never about you. It's about them. So if you don't take anything personally, you experience personal freedom from any negative emotions or situations in your life. And then the third one, And then the third one is don't make assumptions. So that's like, don't assume the worst of people. Don't assume that people have ill intentions of you because you're probably wrong. And then the fourth one is just always do your best.
Wait a minute. Let's back up the truck. I'm probably wrong.
About what?
You said you're probably wrong about
what?
Assumptions.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of assumptions. A lot of them are false.
Okay, keep going.
And then the fourth one is always do your best. And that's just simple enough. Your best is different every day. And if you're just trying to do your best, then you're gentler on yourself when you're not 100% or when you're just having a moment, having a day, which happens.
what is having a day and having a workout that's suitably compatible given the day? Because I seen you posted the other day, you had a hard day, deserves a hard workout.
Oh, yeah.
What does that look like? Tell me about that.
Oh man, fitness.
Talk to me.
Fitness is amazing. Fitness and like running. So when I was in third year university, I was having some mental health struggles, and that was when I think I first kind of started to get into fitness. So I would go to the gym a little bit. I started running, did a couple half marathons. And I remember like the feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction when I did my first half marathon in Bahamas. And, you know, I didn't drink for a month because I wanted to really focus on training and discipline and a good time. And then they handed you a beer at the finish line, and it was like euphoric. Right? We went into the beach, we, you know, went in the ocean and drank our beer. It was amazing. And I think it was like the connection between your mind and your body, and how what's going on in your mind totally affects everything in our environment. And that includes your body. So when I think of fitness, like I can go to the gym and have a killer workout after, you know, seeding or spraying or harvesting or whatever, right? Because of mentally I'm there and I'm like in the zone and focused. You can push yourself, you can push your body. I think I posted an Instagram story a couple weeks ago where I was like, hey, I just had a 1/4 pounder with cheese meal. And then I went to spin class and I crushed it and got second and burned 750 calories. It's all mental. but it's so true, right? Like, you know, people say, well, I can't go to the gym, I'm tired. Well, you're not tired. You just don't have the motivation right now. And the motivation comes from here. And once you kind of learn, I think, to energize your mind and discipline it, you know, we talk about Joe Rogan a lot. I listen to Joe Rogan a lot also because of the way he talks about fitness and his jujitsu or whatever and all of that. Like it's something that is like incredibly natural to humans. But we just, in our lifestyle, we just don't do enough of it. So what does your perfect day look like? Perfect day? Usually includes a spin class.
It's that good, eh? The spin's that good, eh?
Spin is that good. You know, people make fun of me because I go to Wheelhouse in Regina and it's really culty, some people think. But I have had some like euphoric, spiritual, crazy moments in spin class. It's just one of those things, right? When your mind and your body are in sync and you're challenging yourself, it's quite an experience.
I thought it was a bit like a nightclub at 6 a.m. and I felt disoriented for different reasons.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's really fun.
I've been.
Yeah. And
oh yeah.
No dice?
I've been to them all. It's good. So, and there's some in Brandon, but I'm a gym guy.
Okay. What do you do at the gym?
What do I do at the gym?
Yeah.
Well, typically I do stretches first, which is a bit of a debate. And I find fitness is a lot like agronomy. Like you can read 5 different opinions from very smart people and you're like, well, how can they all be sort of right and sort of wrong, right?
Yeah.
I've heard that like too much static stretching in one position for too long can reduce your actual effectiveness in lifting. But then again, you look at the results and it's hard to deny, you know, I can static stretch till the cows come home and yet lift. Yeah. I do the static stretching and then some days I'll do the cardio intervals, right? Mm-hmm. I'll do running on the treadmill and increasing intervals of speed and incline. Difficulty essentially. And then, but if I have a really extensive rotation of different body parts and it's actually sounds a lot more grandiose and complicated than you would actually measure the results given my dad bod. This is not a bad dad bod as far as dad bods go, but, I like to lift and do different body parts, and it depends like how much cardio I do depends on how much, sometimes I got a bodybuilding.com site that I go through and I learned so many exercises through that. And sometimes there's up to like 7 different exercises. So that's a big deal in the gym, especially if you're going to like rotate around them.
Yeah.
But I go to FBC in Brandon. It's the most amazing, professional, clean gym on planet Earth. And I can't remember exactly what the impetus was, but at the age of 40, I'll just keep it a complete secret for the viewership of how old I am now. But at 40, I walked into the gym and I don't know why. I just was like, okay, I'm ready. And so I trained for a year and a half.
Really?
With a guy who completely busted my balls and broke down my self-esteem and essentially crushed me every time I had a Twinkie.
Wow. Imagine how much you grew from that, hey?
Well, look at me now.
Exactly. See? I'm telling you, it's a struggle. You know, Joe Rogan was talking yesterday about your own personal struggles. And the more you have your own personal internal struggles, the less external ones you're going to have, right? It's like you do your own thing, and fitness is part of that, right?
Huge.
It's like you challenge
if you're
your
up
body.
at 6 in the morning,
yeah,
and you beat yourself by 7:30, if you've overcome that wanting to sleep inness.
Yeah, it's a discipline aspect too.
Well, and it's a bit about comfort.
Yeah.
Like you've got to get yourself uncomfortable. And so I'm not sure, we've talked about this before, and Terry's actually doing it, but the whole Wim Hof thing of doing the cold showers and everything.
Is he? Wow.
He is.
Okay.
You never got past the first 10 minutes of the first podcast, I guess.
It's on my app. Yes, I'll get there. But now I'm really intrigued. I had no idea you were going to talk about that.
Why? If you had watched the first podcast episode, you would already know. So the story is, anyways, I tell my brother's stories because he's a lot more interesting, smart, taller, and richer than I am. Good, better looking. But yeah, I could still beat him up. But he went to Africa with the Food Grains Bank. And of course, he didn't have a lot of hot running water. He was gone for 2 weeks and took cold showers for 2 weeks and got back home, and the hot water tank wasn't working at home, and Lachelle was upset, and he gave Lachelle the big speech, his wife, about the big speech about, well, you know, some people in some parts of the world, they don't ever have a hot water shower. It just didn't go over very well. But anyways, so for the last 2 years, he's continued on taking a cold shower, but a big component of that is studying Wim Hof, who's a Norwegian, who we should go and do one of his remote camps, like go to Everest and base camp, or we'll go up Kilimanjaro in our underwear or something, right? Just straight to the top and back in 36 hours. Like this guy has a breathing method where you basically overventilate, you like oxygenate, is that a word? I just made it up. It's functional, right? It works in context.
Sure.
Oxygenate.
I don't know.
You oxygenate your body, and then you can lift a lot, or you can jump into cold water. And like this guy does ice baths for an hour and a half. Yeah. He's gone up Kilimanjaro in his underwear, in 36 hours. He can train people to do this.
Yeah.
They've studied him physically, where they put in bacteria into his body and he can fend it off with his breathing and his, psychosis or whatever. The original point is being uncomfortable is part of the exercise. And there's a lot of being uncomfortable in exercise, but anyways, the long-term rewards are just incredible. And I feel like I wanted to ask you, how do you feel like that ties in with mental health for you? Oh,
it's huge. It's huge. It's one of those things where I try to get to the gym a few times during seeding and harvest. And I have to, because if I don't go to the gym or have a workout in a few days, I can feel it mentally. It's like, you need to do the breathing exercises. You need to stretch, you need to move your body. Right. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a farm friend a while ago. He was like, oh, you can make it to the gym during seeding. Like, you guys must not work very hard. And I was like, see, that's the attitude that we need to do something about, because you're going to go home and drink a beer before you go to bed. And I'm going to hit the gym at 10 p.m. for an hour, 45 minutes. And maybe I lost an hour, 45 minutes of sleep, but I'm going to feel great the next day. And it's one of those long-term sustainability things.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. We need you were a Toastmaster. You got to go like this.
How do you know this about me? Have you been Googling or something?
My bro, Alex Carey, told me all about your Toastmaster experience.
Alex Carey, he knows way too much.
Yeah, he does. He does know way too much.
How is Alex Carey's baby coming along, by the way?
I hear it's good.
Baby.
I hear it's good. Yeah. I'll just
ask you about that.
I'll just check in with his baby mama.
Is there some intrigue there that we should know about as fans?
Some intrigue?
Yeah, like some Is there?
Oh, you're asking. Oh, I see what you're doing right now. Oh, no. Alex is my best friend. I love him to death.
Oh, really? You guys are that close, eh?
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. I have a couple best friends, but like, yeah, Alex is one of my ride or dies. He's one of my support systems. We're bros. We talk about everything. He's awesome.
I was trying to set him up with my sister, but it's too late now. She met a guy.
I heard.
Right.
It's too late too, because he has a baby mama.
Well, what?
He has a baby on the way.
Is this a millennial term?
Baby mama?
Baby mama.
Never heard that?
I feel like that might be in the same category as Netflix and chill, which I was like completely mistaken in the absolute meaning when I was telling my kids on the weekend we should Netflix and chill.
Oh, yeah. And they were like, ew. Uh-huh.
I was wanting to make a bit of a dictionary of things from the 90s that we used to say that probably if we said to millennials, they wouldn't even know. Can I just give you one example and see if like limits test this? How old are you?
Me?
Or is there someone else on the podcast?
29.
Okay. So that you're still a millennial, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Full-fledged millennial.
And it's a perfectly respectful term, romantic term, but it's called wheeling. Have you?
Yeah, I've heard the term.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my theory doesn't even stick then. Actually, that kind of sucks.
You didn't know that millennials knew what wheeling meant?
Not really. I just didn't know. I just felt like it was something maybe we said in high school in the 90s and then nobody says anymore.
No, I've heard it a time or two.
Okay.
My dad says it. Just kidding.
Can you use it in a sentence how your dad would say it?
Wheeling that dirty salesman.
Oh, why are salesmen so dirty in our industry?
I'm just bugging you.
Nothing with, are you really?
You've already identified as a salesman, so I'm going to run with it. Yeah.
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 Wow. So we covered the 4 agreements. Fitness.
Yeah.
Alex Carey's baby mama.
Yep. Checked off the list.
How much do you feel like, you know, it's a startup mentality for you? Like it's got to be a huge learning curve coming back to the farm.
Yeah. It is and it isn't. I think like with anything, I think within agriculture or on a farm, we kind of get into the routine of things and we stop looking at every decision as a decision and just do it out of habit. And so, you know, I've had thoughts where I think, well, coming back to the farm is, you know, it's conventional agriculture. And what can I really create here? You know, like where can I use my creative abilities or make things different or contribute in a meaningful way? And I think that a lot of it, I mean, I talk about relationships a lot because again, that's what farming is about, you know, like I think sometimes we don't stop to ask ourselves why we're doing it. So why do we farm? Why do you sell biosol? Why do we do anything? And I think for most of us at the end of the day, it's so that, you know, you have a good quality of life and you get to do something you like in addition to your quality of life. So on the farm, something that I like to do is work on productivity and efficiencies. So we, you know, when the work needs to be done, we do the work, we get it done. But when I'm there to work, and if I'm showing up at 8 or whatever, I want to get as much done as I can in a day or in a week, because at the end of the day, once you can improve your efficiency and productivity, you've got more time to do other things in life that are meaningful for you. So I think my sister and I are both kind of like that. Like she has a family. I have interests and hobbies and, you know, like my own time as well. So when we're there to work, we work and we can create our own way to do it and get it done and our own system of reaching our goals. But, you know, life isn't just about the farm. I know that's not what they tell you in country songs, but I think that it's important to ask yourself why you're doing it. So
Are you questioning country songs?
Yes, all the time. There's some terrible lyrics out there.
Dukes of Hazzard, Luke or Bo?
Can't say I've seen it.
Oh, see? I'm going to write a book about things millennials don't get.
It takes a lot of awareness though, too, because like I talked about, if you're having a day or you're having a moment and like that happens, people think that, you're like, everybody's just good all the time. How are you doing? Good. How are you? Yeah. But that's not real. Like, people aren't. And so to actually figure out what's causing your anxiety or depression or this and that, it takes some digging and it takes some awareness. And then I think that's when you come up with long-term strategies, and maybe that's getting rid of this or that in your life, or, more of something too. So I think that a person has to be aware to figure that out.
Yeah. I love how you guys have what it seems to me would be code words between you and your sister, like having a day.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember, my sister and I have had some very, I would say, intimate moments on the farm.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
And, a couple of years ago, it was seeding time. She had a new son, and she was staying at my house at the time because she actually lives 2 hours south of Regina with her husband. And her son was sick. She had a cold, and I came over the living room and she was just crying. And I was just broken because I was like, what is the matter? And she's trying so hard to do the seeding. She seeds all day. Our hired guy seeds all night. We run 24 hours. Oh. And she was just broken because her son was sick. She was sick. She should be doing more there. She should be doing more at the farm. And I said, so I was working for the government at the time, and then helping in with seeding on evenings and weekends. So I said, hey, I'm taking tomorrow morning off, and you're going to sleep in with your son, Jameson, and I'm going to seed till noon and come out at noon. And it's just I think that dialogue and openness has really helped us, because sometimes when you're having a day, you don't know it, but maybe you're deflecting some of your negative energy onto other people. So for us, it was kind of I see you're struggling. You're not going to say it, but this is what we should do. And, I think of other kind of intimate moments where, my sister was, the last time when she was pregnant on the farm, and we were shoveling grain, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do about this. Where do you get resources for, should pregnant women be shoveling grain? I don't know. or should pregnant women be spraying pesticide? Some of these very intimate moments that I think we've come to a place where we're just honest about things. And I think that will help us, hopefully. So
where do you get that kind of help if you're a pregnant woman in shoveling in a bin?
I don't know. There needs to be we want more women to farm. We need to have more information about this kind of thing. Honestly, I was like, well, who can I ask for her? If you're pregnant, should you be spraying pesticides? Honestly,
you want to know a funny thing?
Everyone's going to be like, oh, you're pregnant. And
it sounds funny, but it's AgVisor Pro, because Elaine Fraze is going to be on there. And if you hear the whole pitch about how that app works, it's like Uber for communication for any problems you're having in agriculture. So if you're having a day, you open that thing up and you connect with Elaine Fraze or some other mental health professional immediately. I think there's something that happens in the moment that, if you're in the state of mind where you're not well, and we know that there's a difference, okay? And there's a spectrum. You can be feeling bad, you can have anxiety, you can have touches of depression, you can have insomnia. Yeah. And some of it's relatively normal. We all experience it. We also know, and I've seen it personally with people close to me at times, there's been different circumstances, but it goes way over to on the spectrum of you don't know what's going on and you need some serious help. And so if you're in that state of mind where you don't know what's going on, or you're that low that you're thinking about doing harm to yourself or others, how can you have access quick enough? Mm-hmm. And if you don't know now, and we're having this conversation on the 5th floor on a beautiful day with a beautiful view, in Saskatoon, counting our blessings about how amazing it is to be alive, Katelyn. Nobody's shooting at our heads. We don't have to get dirty water from the river for the villagers. We don't have flesh-eating diseases.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And it's one of those things where you think like, we all have such easy lives, like to be born in this country is just like the greatest gift you could have been given, because your other random chance options are, countries in war-torn Africa or Asia. And so really, I mean, our problems are so minute, but yet I feel like there is this constant pressure in our society to be this, to do that, to be that person. And so, I mean, you kind of asked me, who is Katelyn Duncan? And I think right now I kind of think, well, if I can be that one person who tells other people, you don't have to be this, you don't have to do that, just do you, literally, and not in a passive aggressive way. I think that maybe that will help some people, because, I've told you about the 4 agreements, how some people will open up to me, and that can be the moment that helps them, where it's, saying, hey, I've had my struggles. I just want to be real with you. Talk to me. And we're not all just happy go lucky, perfect in this world. And our problems are so minute and small, but yet, sometimes people have days, and that's okay. It's the way life is.
That's a good code word. I love that.
Thanks.
Why do you absolve yourself of any sort of self-promotion? I mean, I think it's required in the business that we're in, but I seen the other day you posted something, but you gave it a caveat, and I was like, I did bust your balls on this one. Sorry, girl.
Yeah.
You said not to do any self-promotion. You know what?
I know.
It's kind of like as a self-promoter, I'm have a committee for self-promoters. I resent that. I mean, look,
you know what, Dan, don't get me wrong. I love attention. Like since I could walk, like, I was the show off kid who couldn't get enough attention, who would, I would tell my family silly things because I thought they'd think it's funny. And I'd be like, everybody's looking at me and laughing. This is the best day ever. Like, I'm extroverted. I like that type of external reassurance. But I think, when it comes to social media, I love it. I love social media because I've connected with amazing people. I've got farmers and industry people in different provinces across the country. Some of them I haven't even met, but they're people where, we've had great dialogue, great conversations. We've connected, we've networked, maybe thrown opportunities each other's way. And that's great. But I think I'm just becoming a little bit more aware of some of what social media is. And it's a form of external, often superficial reassurance. So I'm just a little bit more aware of what it is. If I post a picture where, I'm doing a certain thing, or, maybe I efforted, maybe I look better than normal that day, I'm more aware of why I'm posting that. And don't get me wrong, we all need external reassurance, and it makes people feel good. So I think it's okay to seek it out. But I think that also it can be really toxic to people when, social media, for example, causes people depression and anxiety because everybody else's life looks so perfect. So, I mean, I love it. I love it for connecting with people. I love it for posting my articles, because I think sometimes somebody I never see on Twitter or Facebook will comment, and it makes me really excited to see them engage in dialogue on a topic that they're clearly passionate about. But I'm just a little bit more, more self-aware of why I'm doing certain things, which is good. It's good, right? It challenges you. But it just means that I'm a little more, I'm more mild about it maybe.
So where are you going with all that? Your brand. Where do you want to take that?
My brand.
Well, you see, you're even in denial about your brand. My brand
is changing.
So you have, first of all, step one, we established that we have a brand.
Absolutely.
Not to self-promote.
Absolutely. My brand is changing. My brand is about knowledge and information. And, I think So one of the things I've been working the last few years is my master's degree at the Johnson Shoyama Graduate School in Regina. And so for me, when I went through undergraduate at U of S, I had a great time. I met a lot of people. I learned a little bit, but I also learned how to make friends and expand my network and talk to people. Mm-hmm. So for now, I guess with my grad studies is more about education and competencies. And, learning about things like the policy cycle and policy development and policy analysis means that I'm seeking out dialogue with people and, maybe to a different or a higher level. If somebody wants to talk to me about sustainability, I don't want them to throw the word out. I want them to tell me how we're going to verify it and what compliance standards are in place and how we're going to measure it. So just certain things where I think I'm becoming a little bit more articulate in my life and in awareness and with knowledge. And so I think I'm looking to connect with people who share some of those same ideas and then maybe share different ideas too. So my brand is about, I think, relationships and exchange of ideas. That's connecting. Sure. Yeah.
I think it's awesome and it's fresh, and I have no idea how to be politically correct when I ask this question. But how do you break the stereotype, or is it your wish or desire, or is there an alternate universe in which, we're all encouraged to do some certain things based on where we grow up and our sex and the expectations of us? Are you going to marry a rich farmer and amalgamate? Is that a thing, or?
Yeah, tomorrow, actually.
Okay, guys, if you're watching this podcast, our viewership just went up. Katelyn's going to marry a rich farmer. It all depends on your land and your gross margin.
You know what, Dan? For somebody who's as I guess you could say disciplined and concrete and perhaps even motivated, I'm going to just say, I don't know. I don't know.
It's a great
and you know what, that makes me really uneasy because I don't like I don't knows.
You don't like I don't knows?
No. But you know what? That's okay because we don't have to know everything. And as long as we're learning and growing and enjoying the ride, I guess, then I think we'll all be okay.
Is it really important to you to break the mold, or do you think you're beyond the mold?
Ooh, that was deep.
Thank you.
I don't know.
That's why they pay me to do this podcast.
I don't know. Break the mold or be beyond the mold. I think beyond the mold just sounds like it's ego. So, I think breaking the mold is important, but I don't know.
I think it's a pertinent question for you.
I think it's important for someone to be themselves.
I think there's a little bit of it, like both of the aspects for you right now, breaking the mold and being beyond the mold.
I don't think that most people know who they are or what they're doing or why. And so my main goal and my priority right now is to seek out both of those things. And I think that will lead me to perhaps breaking the mold or being beyond the mold. How's that sound?
I love it.
All
Sounds
right.
great. Sounds great. What's the most pertinent and relevant and important and highest ROI thing that Tom Wolfe ever taught you about spraying?
Oh man. Oh yeah.
You like that one?
You know what? I want to say safety, because I'm very passionate about pesticide safety and proper PPE. But I think honestly, sprayer clean out. I love nerding out about sprayer clean out. It bothers me when people don't use the right product to clean out their sprayer. We've talked about different technologies and biobeds, for example. So a mechanism for disposing of pesticide waste and breaking them down in this biomix pit. So I think that to me, it's one of those concepts that's really new to North America, but it's really efficient to have a microorganism that will break down pesticide into clean water is very, very efficient and sustainable.
Is that essentially penance for driving a Patriot? You think you can somehow make up for driving a Patriot with a bio?
You have a problem with Patriots?
Kind of.
Yeah. Your colors are showing through.
Yeah, exactly, girl. I sold 70 sprayers in my last year of salesmanship.
Yeah?
In 2013. Yeah.
Seems like you might know how to sell stuff.
Well, it's one of those things where, do you ever see that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and he's fighting that bear?
No.
Okay, this is really awkward. I don't know where to go with this. Anyways, it's about survival.
Yeah.
And when you're 23 and you get dropped into a sales role and you head out on the road in your Ford Windstar,
mm-hmm.
and you're looking at those farmers' yards with the big bins, that's Leonardo DiCaprio's bear. Go in there and you've got to introduce yourself and you've got to sell yourself and the wares that you represent, or your family will starve. So it's... So
your Ford Windstar just wasn't cutting it.
Well, it was a really weird dynamic because I had this thing that I had to drive this Ford Windstar because I just thought, well, first of all, if I drive too fancy of a truck, farmers won't want to buy from me, because it was, we forget, but it was the year 2000. And it was really tough times in farming. It's not like the last 10 years of farming. Sorry.
Other than the last few, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. We could get into that too, but the last decade has been really good in farming. Farmers have become more affluent than ever.
Yep.
Period. And so in 2000, it was really harsh when we went out to sell stuff. And so I felt like if I drove a Windstar, that would remove me from, look at that fancy salesman. Look at a lot of insecurities as just a young guy. I didn't know the difference, and I thought, it'd be a family man. But now it's, it doesn't have any relevance, I don't think. And most of us are driving, decent, I guess, trucks or whatever. And certainly you should have a truck in ag biz. But no, I drove a Ford Windstar in my first role as a salesman.
Oh, that's solid.
Sprayers, no doubt, eh?
If I ever had a salesman pull up in a van, I definitely would feel bad for him. A shoulder to cry on, because
it's like a pity play. It's like a reverse psychology. It's like,
it totally is.
I hardly made it here. I got 300,000 kilometers on this Windstar. I'm just trying to make the payments, but would you buy the $672,000 new 4060 with the 1,600 gallon tank?
And they're like, yeah, man, sorry, things must be tough over there.
Just get the carbon fiber boom and forget about it. It's lighter. It's better balanced.
Oh, man. I don't know about the carbon fiber boom.
I sold sprayers. We sold sprayers. Honestly, Katelyn, it was like the Wild West because we were sprayer specialists, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That would be good. Sprayers are the best farm equipment.
They're the craziest, right?
Yeah. People love or hate spraying. But I mean, what's not to love? I realize the job kind of never ends, but you get to go really fast. You get to be really high up in this really cool looking machine. It's really simple. I mean, it's pumps and plumbing, and it's basically an engine. So, I mean, realistically, it's a simple concept. Most people can fix a lot of what it is on a sprayer.
It's right? Two swathers joined together. Do you know that? Hydrostatically.
Really?
Well, yeah, if you think about it.
Two swathers hydrostatically. Because
of the way the hydrostatic motors work?
Oh, on the wheels.
The wheels, yeah.
Yeah. It's they're great machines to run. And I don't know, you get to mix chemicals and feel like a chemist and, try this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And yeah.
And the damn people that eat the food have never gotten to try this. I feel like we should let them drive the sprayers and they'd be like, this is the hizzle jizzle. This is the thing.
I had a conversation with a guy at Canola Palooza today about pesticides. And, we were talking about public trust and consumer concerns. And it was a lot of people are really concerned about pesticides. But are they concerned about it being on their food, or do they have a moral issue with it? Because if they're concerned about it on their food, I mean, the greatest risk is to the operator. In your sprayer is 90 to 95% water. but it's the applicator who actually is, mixing the products and dealing with the concentrate. So I think farmers need to take a lot more precautions in that area with PPE and safety procedures. And you got to acknowledge the risk, I think.
I love that you said PPE many times, almost as many times as sustainability.
Oh, really? Oh,
PPE goes over. It's a big deal. People love PPE.
Yeah, we should. Most people don't know, Dad, for all your podcast listeners, at a very minimum, skin protection, meaning eye protection and skin protection is required for every single pesticide. And you need
Why don't we start with this?
You need a respirator for 2,4-D.
Nail this in the first 10 minutes, Katelyn.
I know, but you need a respirator for 2,4-D, Dan, and most people don't know that.
Listen, I've gone down rabbit holes with old chemicals like Loris Man. I've had trailer sprayer operators that looked like we were going to the moon.
Yeah.
And I was checking the expiration date on that air filter in my cab daily. Really? It's true.
Why? You were worried or what?
I didn't want it to expire. I didn't want to get clogged up. I didn't want to be breathing those toxic chemicals. How do we even start to explain to them, okay, I get it, but you kind of need those chemicals and the industrial oil complex to kind of give you the ability not to be scrounging for berries in the forest right now.
Yeah. I don't think we need to convince anybody of anything. And I think that's where we go wrong. Yeah. Because
this is the best thing I heard all day. Tell me more.
Well, okay, think about yourself. Who do you listen to in your friends group? Do you listen to the person who's well-researched, understands various angles on situations, or somebody who has a personal stake in the future of glyphosate? And I think of in the whole public trust realm, last summer when all of these headlines about glyphosate were happening, I was approached by a lot of peers that I go to school with. And these are very, very well-educated and well-researched policy students from all over the world. And how do I look them in the eye and say, oh yeah, glyphosate is safe. Just trust me. When these people, some of them have degrees in microbiology and, have been working in a lab for the last 10 years. So I had to kind of keep my mouth shut until I actually did my own research and actually looked at some of the Health Canada reports and truly felt like I could look them in the eye. Being somebody who has stake in the future of these products, you're essentially a shareholder in modern agriculture. So of course you have a bias. Everybody has a bias. But I think if I think of my circle, some of the people that I trust most are the people who willingly change their mind. And I think that's where farmers need to improve because you know what? Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So, the future of some of these products, I think the reality is that, if you look at the EU, where it's a really, really stringent regulatory environment, a lot of that is, you're right, is due to political direction. It's, maybe a little bit towards the left. So some of these groups, Greenpeace and environmental groups have a lot more pull with government. I think the reality is in Western societies, do I see the pesticide regulatory environment becoming more stringent? No, because I think our governments kind of are more towards the right or an open market concept. So I think, consumers have power, but government also has power and consumers do determine who they vote in. But I think in Western society, we're not really into, a stringent regulatory environment concept.
Me and my sister tried to save a homeless person in Saskatoon once, but it was actually just
how did that go for you?
Pretty bad. It sort of illuminated the nature of the challenge on a very visceral level. It was like, oh my God. And the reality was she was there by that dumpster because largely she made life choices that led her to that spot despite the best efforts of everybody that loved her, because we literally, we ran into this homeless person by the dumpster and I was like, not today, not on my watch. Literally, I said to my sister, we're going to find this person a place to sleep tonight. And we gathered up her belongings through her bike and her belongings into the trunk, started driving.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay, here's my cell phone. you've got to have somebody that you can, because not on my watch, not today. I was that defender of everything righteous for that small moment in my life, which I thought maybe would, redeem me for all my past sins. That's how, right?
If only that's the way it worked, eh?
Oh, it works that way. Katelyn, be real. Let's get real here.
Great.
The pearly gates and the scales would be like, remember that homeless person that you tried to save? So the hard part was, though, you're like, we took her to one place that where she called, and he was like, as soon as he opened the door, it was like big standoff. And it was like, she's not coming in here. She did this and she did that. And we tried to help her and this and that. And it was a really awkward moment because we had her milk crate full of clothes. And something like fell out of her milk crate. And like I was picking up some of her personal belongings and putting it back in the milk crate, turning around, leaving and going back to the car. And I was like, okay, do you have any other options? And then I would never forget, we ended up going to this one house. It was here in Saskatoon. And we were like supposed to meet some friends at the Willow, right? And we ran into this person. I'm like, no, my watch. We took her. I'll never forget that person sitting, smoking a cigarette by the porch light, out front. And we delivered this person to salvation for that one night. And she's like, oh, whatever her name was. Oh, I can't remember what the girl's name was. And she's kind of took her in. And at least for that one moment, you were absolved of any guilt that you didn't do anything in the world. But I knew that it was fleeting, because I knew that any magic that we had worked that night, by virtue of our stubbornness or vulgar German, like, we're going to fix this. It'd be all for naught in the morning because she's an addict. And anyways, that's my story.
Yeah. I mean, these are complex problems, right? Some of them are perhaps simply somebody made bad choices. But then some of them are also, this person was dealt a really, really shitty hand in life, and they didn't have the support that they needed to cope and move beyond that. And so how, if it's a matter of government intervention, because government is already involved in these situations very heavily, how do we make policies better so that perhaps, treatment or this person can get out of the situation? And I realize that government doesn't solve these problems. I think society and culture does. But as a policy analyst in those areas, or learning about policy in those areas, I think it's about how to improve outcomes.
If you were to use the power of your brand for some lofty goals at the end of the rainbow here, Katelyn, what would you want to look back and have said that you did?
Oh man, I love that question, actually.
Thank you.
I think that, I'd like to look back and people to say that, you challenged me to figure myself out, or to think about myself differently. And then in turn, you treat the people around you differently. So, we were talking about different social programs. Like there's, as a young person, I kind of gathered an affinity for a lot of Indigenous people in our province. And that's because of my mom's influence. She worked with Indigenous communities quite a bit. But also I got a little sister through the YWCA when I was 18. And I'm now 29. And so we've known each other 11 years. So I've seen her grow from a little girl to an adult. And she's a young Indigenous woman who has had all sorts of situations in life that were completely different to my upbringing growing up in Regina. And so I think having a relationship with people who didn't have the same experience that you did means that you're able to see things through their eyes. And there's even research that shows that the more you understand about somebody, the more empathy you do have. So I think, whether it's within agriculture or outside of the industry, I'd like to see people learn to treat others with respect more and, be more genuine to the people around them. If I can be a decent, good farmer on the side and write interesting articles that people like to read and be involved in various boards in the meantime, that's great too. Because those are just, those are ways to expand your skill set and your ideas and hopefully contribute in a meaningful way.
If you had one day to spend with your, I'm trying to think of the right age. If you could go back in time to talk to yourself, I was thinking 10 years old, but that might be too early. You're 29 now. I think, if you could go back and you could talk to your 15-year-old self, you could spend one day with your 15-year-old self, what would you do and what would you tell her?
I'd probably tell myself, I'd probably remind myself of what I don't know. Yeah. So when I first started writing, I used to write articles for -20, which is a component of the Regina Leader Post for those under 20 who are just fired up about life and want to contribute content for people to read. And my mom keeps these archives in a little folder of all of my writing. And it's beautiful. She's amazing. And so I opened it up the other day and I was reading some of these articles that I wrote when I was 18 and 19, like 10 years ago. And I was like, man, I was such an asshole. Like I had an opinion about everything. I knew it all and nobody knew anything. And, this person was a scum of the earth and that person wasn't. And, it was just, I had such strong opinions about things because I was trying to be this person that I thought everybody else wanted me to be. And looking back, I've gone through the ebbs and flows of life. And I think, I'm so happy that I finally kind of learned what I didn't know. And I've grown from those experiences and hopefully continue to do so. So I'd probably just tell myself, you don't know what you're talking about, but keep trying and keep making an effort to get there.
What do you think your 50-year-old self will tell your 29-year-old self?
Wow, you're getting really philosophical here.
Let's do it. Let's keep it rolling.
Oh, man.
You can do it.
Probably to relax a little bit more, to learn how to be in the moment. Maybe by then I'll learn how to do that. But
are you feeling present right now?
Yeah. This is good.
You haven't checked your phone once. I'm very impressed.
I know. It's yeah.
Your phone was going off at the beginning. I'm like, oh my God, these millennials.
Yeah, no, it happens to the best of it. It's social media. It's cell phone culture. I'm heavily addicted to my phone, but yeah, I think it's just to learn how to be in the moment and appreciate things for what they are. I like concrete generally, and I like, certainty, but it's something I'm working through, and we're learning how to just take things as they come and ride the waves when they come.
What is your appetite for risk on a scale of 1 to 10?
I have a decent appetite for risk. On the farm, my sister and I think her appetite is a little bit less. She's a little bit more conservative. And myself, I'm a little bit more of a risk taker. I think I have a little bit more of an aggressive style with farming. So on our farm, I think we offset each other well in that, we can kind of balance out the pros and cons of decisions. I have a lot of trust in her because she does handle the books. So
big deal.
She knows very well on what the appetite for risk is, but yeah.
How do you afford that Patriot? That's a big deal.
Well, it's my dad's Patriot, I'll be honest. So,
your dad should have whatever sprayer he wants. Your dad's the greatest guy. And he's so golden.
My dad is an eternal optimist. It's bizarre for farming because, it's challenging at times.
Reminds me of my grandpa Wilson. Like, he's a strong man, but he's super gentle. Like, he's a really kind, patient guy that just being around him, settles some of us who are more rammy down a little bit.
He also has a good sense of humor where he'll say the most off-color things to me that I don't even want to repeat on your podcast. Oh, but it's like when he says them, I'm like, man, you see me, Dad, you see me, and I see you right now. It's just like,
oh, is that a millennial thing too? Being,
no.
I see you, I feel like.
Maybe. Oh, stop throwing me in the millennial basket.
I knew you wouldn't take to the labels, but I think that's interesting to, about you, because a lot of your journey is about self-awareness. So on that note, what is the one thing that nobody really knows about you that you want to share on the Growing the Future podcast?
Oh man.
We can have awkward silence as much as you want.
No, I got it. This is my go-to answer
for this one.
This is my go-to.
How can it be your go-to answer if nobody knows it? You can't have ever given it before. That's categorically the definition.
It's not that nobody knows it. It's that not enough people know it.
Well, thank God everybody's going to watch in the third hour of this podcast.
Are you ready for it? You already know this, Dan.
Uh-oh.
You already know this top secret.
Are you sure you want to go there?
Yeah.
Because it's sensitive.
And it's that I play the accordion.
That is, I don't know that.
Yeah.
When
just
you
sit with that one for a while.
Send me that. I know. I just want to let that percolate. When you send me that, it harkened back to something ancient. It was like my ancestral days from the potato famine or something of my.
Oh, you're just checking your phone?
Listen, I can't help that people are texting me. I got everything shut off.
No, you don't. It's not recording.
You and I have a kinship regarding this and various other things, it invokes an element of shame, Katelyn, for me, because I played till I was 10, and then I fell in love with the guitar, and I broke my accordion teacher's heart because I was like her recital wizard or whatever.
Yeah.
Till I was 10. But I was like, pushing my glasses up in my nose and playing this big ass accordion. And but then I heard, like, me and Dad started going to guitar lessons, and I became obsessed. And she wondered why I lost interest in the accordion. And I kind of left it behind. But my grandfather played accordion. My dad aspired to play the accordion. I come along a long line. And I see you send me this video, and then I seen you, and then the other day you actually shared it on social media.
Yeah.
But you know what the big long-term implications of this are?
Go on.
Yeah, I've got you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what page of salesmanship this comes out of, but
which agreement is it?
Right. Just roll with me here. Just roll with me. You are now eligible for Ag Rocks charity.
Oh, man. Yes.
What charity would you raise money for?
Ooh.
Because you're gonna do your accordion thing, TCU Place, December 3rd at Farm Forum. We're having the Ag Rocks charity. We're starting a foundation.
Yeah. I would have to put the money towards a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. And I know your viewers have probably never heard of it.
I have a lot of viewers.
Yeah, man, I know this is going to go viral right now. But anyways, there's a group in Regina called White Pony Lodge. And they're a group from North Central, a group of Indigenous women who started a group where they walk the neighborhood on Friday and Saturday evenings from 6 till 9 p.m. And they pick up syringes and drug paraphernalia and other harmful items and gang, like things from gangs in the area. And I would give the money to them because there's nothing that I can respect more than people who put their time behind something as opposed to money. They're a very lean group. They essentially just need safety vests and flashlights. And I try to get there as much as I can. Although Friday and Saturday evenings, it's hard to budget 3 hours sometimes, but it's a great group of people. I've walked with them. The group is diverse. They've expanded my ideas. It's people from the neighborhood, people from outside of the neighborhood, such as myself. And it's, the things you learn, the things you see when you're walking down the street and you interact with people from that community is just, I don't want to say it's a selfish experience, but it is, in that it's experiential learning for myself and truly understanding a different way of life.
Experiential learning?
Yeah. Like learning through experiences.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think that's happened to me.
Yeah. I hope so.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say to a young woman from a different walk of life, a different set of circumstances that has never been exposed to agriculture? What would you say to her about being in agriculture?
I mean, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of jobs out there that need people to fill them. But I think sometimes people who don't see themselves as the first choice for the job or the, picture perfect candidate, sometimes they need somebody to hold their hand and give them a pat on the back and say, you know what, you got this, you can do this. And I'll read your resume and I'll edit let you practice your interview or whatever. And I think just, if we could just be more supportive of people out there and, acknowledge our bias and judgments towards people, I think we'd all be better off.
You have a certain affinity for the Aboriginal community. Where does that come from?
I kind of mentioned like my mom's work in that environment when my mom was a teacher out in Fort Capel on different reserves. And I guess from a very, very young age, she kind of always taught us that we're all equal. And so I think having that kind of ingrained in us as kids means that as you go through life, I wasn't exposed to a lot of racist concepts or ideas growing up in Regina because my mom kind of instilled this acceptance of everybody. And again, kind of with my little sister and knowing her path and some of her early on experiences in life, you kind of become more empathetic of your what's the word I'm looking for? Your privilege in life. Your privilege just, being a white individual in an affluent country like Canada. So education leads to empathy. The more you understand people and why they are the way they are, I think the better you treat people and understand and want to help them kind of find their way.
Are you still constantly evolving on the accordion, or is that something that's relatively static?
You know what, Dan? I have a New Year's resolution, which includes in 2019, I'm going to make myself play my accordion at the Regina Farmers Market.
Really?
I haven't grown the courage to do it yet, and it's already July, so half the year is over. But I'm thinking like maybe before harvest or after, I'm going to tell my best friends like, hey, I'm going to be doing this so that they'll hold me accountable and psych me up and make me do it. And I'm going to go and sit and play on the corner
Alex Carey is going to be cheering you on. Alex
will hold me accountable. Yeah, he definitely will.
What is the thing that you're most afraid of that you're trying to psych yourself up to do right now?
I mean, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of experience playing in front of groups. So I need to get better at my stage presence and at my performance side of things. Mm-hmm. But when I'm playing accordion, I become really like into it and passionate, and I get a really angry face because I'm just so into it. Some people say
rock faces with the accordion?
Just very like, it's not like I'm not looking at the crowd and just smiling. It's more of like, oh my gosh, this note, this sound is beautiful. So I want to work on my presentation skills. So yeah. And I mean, it's like any new experience, right? Sitting on a street corner playing an accordion. Not many people have done that. So
that's the definition of busking. That's hardcore busking.
I know. It's like, I have a job. I actually have a couple jobs.
It would be really striking if you did it too, because I mean, you just don't expect it. And it's such an ancient.
No. Instrument. And I honestly, I do think it would make my mom's year. I think my mom is my biggest cheerleader, and especially with the accordion, like my family hates it, but my mom will just sit and listen and watch me play for hours. And I thought
it was great.
Yeah.
When you posted that thing, or you sent me a video and you posted another song you were playing, I don't know. It touched something in me. I mean, I'm such a musical guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I sent you my playlist last night. I don't know if you got.
I did, and I listened to it on the way up to Saskatoon.
Yeah, I got to tell you which ones are the best on there.
Okay.
You listened to it all on the way up?
No. First few songs, and then I got bored.
She's a 10-minute viewer. I'm like, I was going to text you and tell you, like, you got to get to warning call. It's like halfway through, because it really evolves. The song list evolves. It was actually interesting how, it was over a broad period of time, but it's I think it's your genre, is it not? The EDM?
Yeah. I like it. EDM and house is like, yeah. It works for me.
Interesting stuff in there.
Yeah.
Getting close to the end now. I think we can both sense that. Ready to bring it down.
Yeah. All right.
You've been an amazing guest.
I feel like this is very like fluid. It's very open conversation.
Katelyn Duncan.
Yes.
I see you.
I know you do, man.
I see you.
I know. That's why we're having an open conversation.
I see you. And I know where you're going with it all.
See,
and I truly believe that you're going to get there. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. That's genuine. I appreciate that. See, you know what? I just realized I never put my glasses on once, which means I never said anything intelligent one. Because I said I was going to put these on when I said something intelligent.
I know. I remember that.
So anyways, maybe
listen.
For next time.
Put them back on, and I think you should quote some Jordan Peterson.
I can't quote Jordan Peterson.
Why not?
Okay, hold on.
What's your favorite Jordan Peterson story?
No, honestly, I actually, okay. So here's the thing is this comes to mind because I've talked to this about with a lot of people.
Okay. I'm listening.
Some of his reasons, actually, so I'm in a farm group chat. Shout out to the board. We talk about some pretty cool topics that are not always related to just.
What do you mean a group chat on what?
A farmer group chat. It's like
on text message or Snapchat or
WhatsApp. Yeah.
Oh, WhatsApp.
It's like a super cool group of like.
I'm not on this.
I'm not the bot. I'm not the keeper of this. I talk to Daddy. Okay. Talk to Daddy. I don't know.
What? Okay, go on.
Anyways, it's like I like exchanging ideas with people, and we've talked about Jordan Peterson's reasons. Why are you laughing at my glasses?
It's the glasses. I don't know why it's hard to take you serious right now.
We talked about his reasons and what he's seen in the research on like the gender pay gap. So a lot of people think, well, women just get paid less because they're a woman and it's discrimination. But there's actually like 12 reasons why women are statistically paid less. And a lot of them come down to when a woman gets to a certain age, she chooses a more flexible work role when she has children. And so because of that flexibility, her pay is decreased. So there's a choice involved where, she decides to cut back on her work. So that's one reason. There's other reasons that include like different age groups. So not in every age group, I guess, are women actually paid less. So it's just a more like analytical approach to that topic because
sounds like his next book, 12 Reasons.
Yeah, I haven't actually read his book or listened to the audiobook, but
really?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear the lobster story?
Which lobster story?
You never heard the lobster story?
No.
I think it's actually in one of his first rules. Like, essentially, I think the chapter is called like "Put your shoulders back and stick your chest out and like walk with confidence." It's a very simple concept, but yeah. I really like Jordan. I seen him live.
I know.
We talked about that. It was really cool. It was a great gift from Elston Solberg. Shout out to Elston Solberg. He's like, let's go.
Well, he's such an odd character because like I do truly think he is so misrepresented. Like even the way that he first kind of got famous was like a march based on something that he kind of said but then didn't actually say and mean the way it was taken by I think it was the LGBT community or whatever. And it was like now he's essentially famous from it. But like he's entirely politicized and misrepresented. And it's like, obviously it's creating some fame and a market for him, but I still like his ideas. Yeah.
Similar to what you're going to do. I mean, you're going to have to pack a theater at some point in your career.
Oh, wow. Okay. But so back to his 12 rules though, like, honestly, I haven't read them, but I know one of them is like, it's like clean your room or something, right?
Yes.
And funny thing, I was talking to one of my girlfriends yesterday and she was having a day and, she was like, my place is a mess. I got to do something. So I cleaned my house and I cleaned my room. I was like, these are such basic concepts. And like part of it is about discipline, right? We were talking about that before, like challenging yourself and discipline. I mean, I think there's a certain level of healthy discipline when you're just going crazy and stressing yourself out. It's like, okay, you need to take a step back. But at the end of the day, I think too, like there's a certain satisfaction from like pushing limits, like we talked about. And some of what Jordan Peterson says is kind of like basic concepts to get you to a place where you actually can push your limits internally and, develop kind of your internal being as well. Like,
do you make your bed?
No, I don't.
So I don't really make my bed, but when I do, I do make my bed sometimes. But when I do, it's a great feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
You know what else is in the same category, Katelyn? There's making my bed and there's picking up a piece of garbage that's not mine.
I was driving down the ring road in Regina during seeding time and I saw all these like city workers picking up garbage. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, people, stop throwing garbage out your window on the ring road. How much is this costing taxpayers? You're not thinking about your decisions in the long term when you throw stuff out of your window when you're driving. So I emailed the city and I was like, how much are we spending here on our garbage removal? And we went back and forth and I asked them about like, okay, well, annually, like how much are you paying for crews to pick up garbage? Anyway, I didn't truly trust the number that I was given or it wasn't enough for dramatic effect, but I was going to make a Facebook post and be like, people, think about your long-term decisions. Just when you throw out your burger wrapper, you're costing the entire city this much money. And I was just super annoyed.
Oh, it's good. It's good. We had a laugh.
Yeah.
It's good. We had some fellowship.
Yeah.
I'm looking down our lists of things that you texted me that you passionately wanted to speak on. And I feel like we've covered them. You said sustainability at least 7 times.
I did. Yeah.
The sponsors really appreciate that.
I know. Right.
Is there anything that you want to say to your audience before we sign off?
Figure out your identity, figure out who you are. Cause I think in the whole farm transition topic, one of the hardest things for people stepping away is who are they other than a farmer? And it causes enormous issues for the younger generation, for themselves, for their family, for their relationships. And so I think really, truly making an effort to, understand your identity and who you are and what your priorities are and what you want to be and do in your life is important for anybody. And, I trace that whole self thing back to everything, whether it's farm transition, whether it's work, jobs, relationships, life, health. It's you got to figure yourself out if you want to, I think, truly experience long-term happiness and success.
That's a great place to leave it. I love the way you look in glasses, very smart looking. I love the way you say important. And I'm glad that we got the microphone pointed in the right way earlier because, that's technical issues ahead otherwise. But you did a great job on the podcast. You're super real, as I knew you would be. Super real. And for me, I'm logging some pretty precious memories long-term with a lot of really amazing people that I probably will cherish long-term, like yourself.
Oh, so nice. I see you, brother. I see you.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I appreciate the realness of the dialogue and just hashing stuff out. And yeah, it's been good. I've had a lot of fun.